today with artist Elwyn Joseph to tell us about his journey into art.
Well, my journey started in Dominica, where I was born. I grew up with my grandparents and my aunts, and I was a spoiled little boy. Myself and my elder sister, and we were really spoiled, and we were very loved. I started drawing at a very early age, and I remember that one incident in class, in school in Dominica, where we were in Teacher Henderson class, and while the other kids were doing their work, I was at the back with a pen, and I would draw on anything. I would draw on paper, brown paper, white paper, with pencil, pen. And I remember I was drawing with a pen and drawing him, he was stationed right there. And after class, I showed him the drawing that I made. And it was so interesting that, after he scolded me and said, instead of you doing my work, here it is that you're drawing me, it was. But he liked it. I can't remember if I gave it to him or whatever I did with it, but he liked it, and then he encouraged me there. And that's where it started. I always loved to draw. I was about 14 years when I moved to St. Croix, and when I moved here to live with my mom, I went to the Claude School. We had art at Claude School, but it was nothing to the effect of what I did not know. The only difference were that we were more introduced to painting, which I was not introduced to. I never did that before, but it was nothing to the fact that I did not know what we were doing. And from Claude I went to Central High, and that's where I got a little bit more into the art. It was basic art. My teacher name there was Miss Gail Whitmer. She was very interested in, when she saw what I could do, she was very interested in my artwork. Left Central High, I think that was the only class, one of the main classes that I aced. That was basic art. Give all credit to Gail Whitmer, she was me, and I got a full-time job from Central High. Then after a while, then family life started coming in. Then I had a full-time job at Merchants Market, but I would still find time to draw. Then I found that my portfolio was getting full, and that day, remember that day that I said, I gotta get some copies. So I went to Christiansted, but I heard about Better Copy. So we went there. I went there, and I spoke to the owner, and she directed me to Betsy Canton. And that's where everything started, because when I went to Betsy, and she saw my portfolio, and she saw what I had in there, she said, I think, Elwyn, I don't even know you that much, but I think you're stuck with me. And we started talking, and she told me, what, she had a show coming up in a matter of a month. She asked me if I would be interested in participating in that show. She talked me into it, and I know I had more than 23 pieces, but she took 23 pieces of my work that was in that portfolio, and she married it, and then she entered it in the show. The show was held at the Botanical Garden. That night, I remember, that was a big night for me. I'll never forget that. I sold, out of 23, I sold 10 pieces that night.
All right.
and I think that's where everything started, having my first exhibition, and everything followed after that. Well, when we did her show, when she saw the result, she said, Elwyn, there is, she told me about, because she was, I think she was part of that Good Hope Caribbean exhibit. That was a yearly thing, it was an annual thing, and she told me, why don't you submit some of your work there, you know, which I did, and I got declined, I got rejected, because the thing is, practically, what I was doing was black and white, but they wanted color. So I said, okay. They didn't force about it. The following year, I said, okay. Because, you know, I had the foundation already, which was the drawing. So the color was kind of minute to me, you know, so. But I did some drawing, I did some stuff, took some pictures, and I submitted some work there, and in fact, everything that I submitted to the show, they accepted. So that night of the show usually run for like 3-4 days. That time, that night, the opening night, I sold basically all the pieces that I submitted. And there was one piece that I had in there that I named Still Doing It. It was a painting of an old lady digging some water from a well. And Danica David was there, and she saw that piece of art, and she saw my work, and she was the owner of Danica Gallery in Christiansted. So she invited me to, after the show, she invited me, you know, she asked me if I would like to exhibit at her gallery, and I said, okay. But the thing about it, there's a storyline behind that. The piece that she saw was sold, and what she did, she did the flyers with that piece on there. So when I brought the pieces to be exhibited at her place, when she saw it, she said, and she was looking for the piece that was on the flyer, and I told her, well, it was sold, Danica, and she said, no, we got to do something, because that's the piece that everybody that we know definitely is going to come look at. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I left, because the show was supposed to open the following night. So I left, and I went home with the same drawing skill that I had, did the drawing, you know, and I painted it in about 5 hours. I did the painting, you know. It was a detailed piece, and I brought it to her, and then everything worked out well. And within the Good Hope show and Danica's show, that piece made the St. Croix Avis 3 times. Yeah, and the St. Croix source, when they heard about me, they came there and they interviewed me. I think if you go on their page right now, you will find that they had a picture of me next to that piece. That piece was a very powerful piece, and that's where things start building up, from Betsy to Danica, to the Good Hope to Danica, and then start gravitating.
So I take it that you've been doing quite a bit of exhibiting and painting and being a recluse every now and then, and everybody wants to know, where is Elwyn? And then when Elwyn comes out, the paintings come out.
Yes, that was a real boost for me, because people start calling me, you know, Caribbean Museum of the Art in Frederiksted. I had a solo exhibit at the Fort in Frederiksted. Then I had a couple exhibition at Top Hat Gallery. Then Betsy had an annual exhibition and they kind of get a recreation hall, which I was one of the artists that was chosen for that exhibition. So I had, yeah, that pretty much kind of boosted me up, and people were, I mean, I was getting a lot of, you know, opportunities to show my work, yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you know, that's an interesting journey so far from that little boy in Dominica.
Yes.
All right. Drawing in class instead of doing the class work. We're going to be talking about your art in more detail. We're going to be looking at some of the pieces that you've done and the areas that I see you have a particular interest in. So let's go and pull out some of the art and take a look at it. Okay. All right. As we look at your portfolio here, I see that you have quite a bit of work in black and white, but that's natural because that was your first love, and that's kind of what you, so to speak, cut your teeth on.
Sure.
And so I picked out about 6 pieces, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about these paintings and what your inspiration and thinking was.
This piece here was one of my, not early pieces, but when I try to transition from black and white to color. But that piece here really drew my attention because when you look at it, you're seeing that that little boy in there has a little fear in him, but with the comfort of his mom, he knows definitely that he's gonna be okay. So that was a beautiful composition for me in that effect, yeah.
Here is that. All right.
Oh, this one here I could relate to. Growing up in Dominica, I remember seeing majority of the people in my village with this La Plaine. You would see a lot of these country people. I mean, some of them did not have any stove, and we would go, you know, for fire sticks. That in particular, that one particularly, I named it fire sticks because that's how you would get your food cooked, like in fire sticks to really put under the pot. Oh, this one brings back memory. This one was done in charcoal. Well, graphite, all of them, they're all black and white. This one, that was one of my best friend. She got killed in a car accident, and I decided I was going to do a piece for the dad, for our father, which was my best friend. And every time I look at it, I remember her because it's a realistic piece, and it really touches me. Yeah. That one is also a daughter of a friend of mine that I did. This one is done in graphite. Detailed. One of my latest work in pencil. Even though I do color, I still do a lot of pencil work because that was my first love. So you would see a lot of detail. I'm really a realistic artist when it comes to whether it's color or black and white. Oh, this is Brother Bob. I think this is the third drawing I did of Brother Bob, and I think that one was the best. There's a little story behind this one. I remember one time I showed this one at an exhibition, and this guy came to me and he asked me if I ever saw Bob Marley, and I told him, well, the pictures, you know. He said, you never see him in person? I said, no. He said, where did you get that picture? I tell him, well, it was not a picture per se, it's a pencil drawing, it's a painting. And he was like, no, you can't, you're kidding. And when he went closer and he saw, you know, I mean, that it was a pencil work, and he said, oh my God. Because he thought that all the time that it was a picture of Bob Marley that I did, so. And I'm also in the, there's a society, Graphite Society. It's consists of members of people all over the world. I'm a member on Facebook, and I put that one, I posted that one on that site, and man, everybody was like flabbergasted about that piece. The Great Rosa Parks. That was an old one that I did of Rosa Parks. That was one of my earlier pieces before I transitioned to color. You know, Rosa Parks played a very good, very important part in our lives, so I had to do a portrait of her, yes.
People in your portfolio stand out as one of the areas that you seem to really like. You have a lot of faces and people, and as we segue into some of your color work in particular, this one stands out from our earlier discussion. Danica David fell in love with it.
People are my favorite subjects. I mean, I do a lot of different subjects, landscapes, cityscapes, or whatever, but people are my favorite subjects. I love doing people. I mean, even though I might not know the person, you know, I mean, even though I'm doing something, I take a picture of somebody and I don't, there's this connection while I'm doing that painting. I love doing people. I like the expression on their faces, you know, and especially I like doing a lot of elderly people, you know, because I'm a detailed painter. I like, you know, sometimes you see all that creases and all this type of, you know, the aging marks on those people. This is the piece that I was talking about that I did for the Danica show. And I could relate to that because that is one of the pieces that, in comparison to the fire stick that were growing up in Dominica as a little boy, I have seen people, you know, doing that type of work, the elder people. That's why I name it Still Doing It, because if you look at the painting itself, you will see, and it's an aged person, in a ripened age, and they're still fetching their water in the pond or wherever, you know, I mean, they're fetching the water, but I could relate to that because I've seen as a little boy people doing that. So that was one of my favorite pieces that I did.
Continuing on in the look into faces and features, I see you have a young lady here.
This young girl, I did it. When I saw the picture, I had to do it because that was part of me, because growing up in Dominica at a young age, you had to do chores. That was one of my chores, taking a bucket like this or whatever, you know, I mean, going to the river and get water, go to the pipes. And this piece in particular did the cover of the St. Croix this week in 2012. Oh, the great Abu. That was a friend of mine. I saw him, the features on his face again, you know, with that white beard. Had to do that, you know. Love doing faces. Oh, this one is I saw this child from a baby. This is her name is Kiki. I wanted the detail because if you look at that piece, you'll see all the strands of the hair and that all the things in her hair and all this type of thing. And this is one of my latest pieces. And looking at that piece, you could see the transition, you know, in my earlier work to this work. Here we go again with Kiki, being that little disgusting little girl. That's her brother there, being a little disgusting, you know, trying to play in the water pipe and wetting down the place. So, oh boy, can't remember her name, but I went to the market in Lorraine. She sells there. Her face just looked like she just saying to paint me. So I went up to her and I said, you know, I'm an artist that I would like to do a portrait of her. She said, well, so many people have painted her, and she never really got a copy. I said, well, trust me, I will be back. When I did the painting, I did a copy of it, matted it, and I took it to her, and you would not, I mean, I saw that joy on her face. She said, man, thank you so much, because my kids are going to get a painting of me, you know, I mean, painting of me so that they could look at it even when I'm gone, and that felt so much to me. I mean, that meant so much to me, seriously. Oh, the great bourgeois. This is the young guy. If everybody St. Croix is supposed to know this guy. He usually be around Sunny Isles area selling coconut. I just had to paint him because that's one of the things that, you know, I mean, we Caribbean people like. We love our coconut. So when it comes to people, I just love doing people. Whatever you're doing, you know, I mean, you put it in front of me, and I like challenges, and I'll paint it. Oh, this is one of my favorite piece of work. I named that piece Taking a Rest. And if you look at that piece very carefully, you will see that even though she's aged, if you notice there's a broom at the back and there's a cup on her right hand side with some newspaper, it tells a story, because your painting has to tell a story. And that one tells a story. The story that, I mean, when you look at that, is like she was doing some work and being, you know, aged, being tired, you know, I mean, had a little cup of tea or coffee or whatever, read her newspaper and her broom there, taking a rest. That means she got some more work to do, you know. But I love that piece. That's one of my favorite pieces. Amaya was one of my models. She's a friend of my niece, but she moved to the States. I did a couple pieces of her, a couple of paintings of her. She always wanted to pose and take a picture. And then we were on our way back, and then we stopped in the town of Frederiksted, and then I took a picture of her. And if you look at, you know, I mean, from her head to her toe, you will see all the detail in the dress, in the shoes, and even in the hair, and even on the background with the doors and all this type of thing, you know, the detail, this rustic feeling in the door, showing you that it's an old door. And this is my aunt, who passed away about a year ago. She's one of the aunts that raised me, along with my grandparents. I had so much respect for my aunt. She wasn't by my mom when I took that picture, and I said, okay, I gotta paint her. And then I painted her. It's a good thing that I did it, because not too long after I did it, she passed away. But she saw it, and she was very pleased before she passed on. This is my mom's neighbor. We call him Specky. Specky is a comic by himself. And when I told Specky that I wanted to do that painting, he said, he was so excited. And I know he always has a cigarette in his mouth. And at that time when I took that picture, he didn't have any cigarette there. So I said, Specky, I want to paint you, but you know, where's your cigarette? And he said, I'm going for it. I said, okay, you don't have to. Just put your fingers like you're smoking, and I'll do the rest. And that piece was entered in the Artist Guild of St. Croix 2015 show at the Canton Recreation Center. And out of 29 artists, that piece I named Distressing got me first place. Again, one of my latest pieces. Went to the beach, saw this young lady, and the sun was, oh my God, the sun was shining on her face. Had my camera, had to take that picture. As soon as she turned, I took that picture, and it's one of my favorite pieces. Doing those painting of people, you feel that connection with them, you know. Yeah, I was in a doctor's office one day, and all of us were there patiently waiting, and this old man, this elder man, sat down there, and he had this look on his face like, when am I going to be called? When am I going to be called next? You know, and didn't have my camera, I had my phone, took a picture of him, and I said, I kind of debated because I didn't ask him for permission, and I said, you know what, should I paint him? And after looking at the picture several times, and I said, you know what, this man sat down here, and he's like, the look on his face like he's so patiently waiting, you know, waiting to be called to see that doctor, and there it is, you know, patiently waiting. Here is a Maya again, and she sat down there in that sun was shining so, and it was burning, man, and she had this bottle of water, and she had just finished drinking the water, and she was just there gazing, and something was just telling her, you know, I mean, she was just telling me that she wanted some more water. So it was time to leave. So before we left, I took the picture and I named it to the last drop, because she had that bottle of water and she drank it to the last drop, because she was, then we went to buy some stuff to drink, but she was a very good model. This one here, after Tropical Storm Erica devastated Dominica, a friend of mine had a picture, and I wanted to paint that because here again, this is something that I could relate to, because before the washing machine, that's one of the things that people used to do, go by the riverside and wash your clothes. And because of the damage that was done in Dominica, a lot of people did not have electricity, and they had to go back to the old days. And after I asked him permission, he told me it was not a problem to paint it, so I painted it. West Indian style again. I think we have this, even though we are separated, but we have this culture, this similarity in our culture. Just a lady with a tie on her head, and I just feel like being so serious, and I've work to do, and she's on the go, and you know, I just felt like applying some paint, and that's the result of it. This one here, like I said, we know our culture is almost the same thing. I went to a market in Jamaica, and the background is Pat St. Croix. The subjects that are selling, the two people that are selling is Jamaican, and the girl that is buying is Dominican. So I have a whole set of Caribbean people in that composition. So you see, I took like 3 different or 4 different pictures to do that one painting. Yeah. That is a beach scene that I did. This was done in acrylic. This young girl here is one of my best friend, Miss. We went to the beach, and then she was there talking to this lady. She didn't know the lady, but knowing the person that she is in fact. The center of interest, the main subject here was the little girl talking, having a conversation with the lady. So, but it's a good piece. This is Miss Jane. Previously, I spoke to you about Specky, with the one with the cigarette. That is his sister. I mean, the whole family, you know, I mean, usually they pose for me, you know, knowing that I'm an artist, and they pose for me. And she was there doing some work. Oh, this young man, I was in my car driving one day, and I saw him with a chicken. I don't know if he was trying to fight, he was fighting chicken, you know, and then I stopped him and I said, "You want me to take a picture?" He said, I mean, this guy was so happy when I asked him, and he just posed. I took different shots of him, and that was the one that I chose that I wanted to paint. Yeah. Oh, this is one of my favorite pieces. I got so many different favorite pieces. This piece here, if you notice in the middle, you will see a Meyer again. That's a Meyer. The young lady on the right, that's my wife's niece. Beautiful piece. I think it's one of my favorite acrylic pieces. It's a young lady that we were at Buck Island, and we were on the boat coming over back to St. Croix, and she was there. I don't know what was on her mind, but she looked like she was in a different state of mind, and I named it Deep Thought because, and what I liked about it was the sun that was heating her hand and her lip, her chin, and her upper torso, and that gives, and plus the section of the hat, and that gives it a lot of three-dimensional formation. This young man I met at the beach in Frederiksted, and I spoke to him, but I took a couple of shots of him, and I find this one here. He was just under the water when I took it, and when he came up, if you notice that the hair on his forehead, you'll see the water is still dripping from his face, and yeah, that's. And I like doing people with dreadlocks. I like doing not just people, but people with dreadlocks. It was a thrill doing that piece. Somebody gave me that picture. The features it's amazing. I had a lot of fun doing that piece. A lot of fun doing that piece. Another mother and child that I did, that is one of the pieces that I remember I exhibited at Betsy Canton show a couple of years ago. This one was done from my head. I was just doodling, and I did this one with this guy. I've seen, because the saxophone is because I play a little keyboard myself, and the saxophone, my wife always said she wanted to play the saxophone, so I said, okay, let me do something with a saxophone.
Lots of people. I can tell you, love people.
I love people. I love doing people. I love doing people. People are my favorite thing. I love doing people.
All right. Well, we have some kind of different people that we're going to look at here that you've been painting, and it's more, I guess, into the scenery, but just as captivating. So.
Okay, this one here, this is my wife's nephew. When I took a picture of him, I knew in my mind what I wanted, because he did not have any bucket there, there was no bird, there was no fishes there was no real anything. All I told him was, I want him in a position where I think, okay, well, you know what, you're looking to catch some fish. And like the fishing reel, the fish, the bucket, the bird, everything I added to it. It's hanging in my living room right now because my wife won't let it go, because that's a nephew, man. She won't let it go. Some people said, you know, I mean, how many years you've been painting? I've been painting that long. But the thing is, I tell people, young people too, I tell them, you know, there are 3 rules in painting or in art. And rule number 1 is practice, rule number 2 is practice, and rule number 3 is practice. You gotta practice. And in everything that you do, you know. So that's one of the reasons why I try to paint mostly every day. I try painting every day. Even though I don't do a perfect picture, but I try to do some sketches. This one I took the same day I took the picture of the previous painting that you show. There was some guys on by the Frederiksted Pier. This painting I did a while back. There was this lady that used to sell at the roadside across from Strawberry in St. Croix. I think she retired from doing that. And I went to her. I would like to paint you because of what you're doing. It's so interesting because everybody stopped by. She was like, okay, you can take the picture, but I don't want you to take my face. I don't want to look straight to the camera. But I said, okay, no problem. And then as soon as I told her that, somebody came to buy, and then I painted it. It was one of my early stage paintings that I did. Oh, culture. This is a piece that I did just for my personal use, because there's a traditional dance in Dominica where they call it the belly. Like here they call the quadrille, we have the belly. Two people would be on the floor one time, and the others would be cheering, but the type of footwork, it's more, everything that we do is more like, our culture, African culture. So that one I saw the picture and I did it, and I said, okay, this one is I could relate to, because I had a cousin that was very good in doing that. So, this one, about 2 houses, looking at the house, you see about 2 houses on the right, that's where my mom lived. I was on my way to my mother, and I met this lady. I knew her, but she was camera shy. She didn't want to tell me she didn't want to look into the camera. But I didn't want her to look into the camera, because I was not taking just a photograph, to just, to look at. I wanted something that I wanted to paint, and I named it a few more steps, because she was just a few more steps from her home, and with that bag. This picture was taken in Cayman Islands, and what really kind of drew my interest in that painting was these 2 people came. I think they were tourists. I think there was a cruise or something, and they walk up to buy some coconut. But then, as soon as I was going to take the picture, if you notice on the right hand side, you'll see that chicken. And when I saw the chicken walk up, I was like, man, is this chicken one to, really looking for coconut too, And then it just drew my interest, and I said, I painted. But this is an acrylic too. It's acrylic painting. When I think I named it three knots for 3, because it was a funny thing when I planned to take the people and the guy that was selling the coconut, but here was the rooster run, just went in the picture, and that's why I painted it. Oh, one of our things that we do around the Caribbean, clean fish. That lady was in Gallows Bay in St. Croix, and she was right there cleaning her fish, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take the picture and I'm going to paint it as it is, and this is what I came up with. This is just practice. That was just practice painting that I did. Being that I love music is my second love. So after art, music is my second love, and she was just there, playing the guitar. This one here is almost like my niece nephew. He sat down there, kind of worried. I don't know, maybe he's not catching anything, and he just sat down there, and he was fishing. If you notice, the sea's kind of rough, and I think that's one of the reasons. And he was kind of weary. If you notice, his hand is behind his head, and he's saying, "Man, I want to really go home." So I was kind of interested to paint, but Um, this one I kind of did basically from my head. If you notice on your left hand side, you will see this is kind of rough also. Maybe he was playing with his bucket, a young guy, and his ball got away. And if you notice on the left hand side, you will see the blue, red, and white ball. And he was trying to fetch his ball. This is insomnias, you know, I mean, we have a lot of people, a lot of artists that does that, the work they do, working people, and I said, why don't I do that? You know, and this guy was cleaning around Insomnia because we need people to clean our place. That one I did by just practicing. It was a fishing scene that was given to me. I think that picture was taken around somewhere in the Caribbean, and it's one of my wife's favorite. She won't let it go. Some people, I put mending the net. That was the title that I gave it, because the other subject that really touched me is really doing rustic houses. I love doing those. You know, you see this dilapidated doors and boards and all this type of thing. And the painting that we are looking at, that was painted plein air. And what plein air is, it's an open air. It's a French word for open air. I paint with a group here by the name of the Paletiers. Consists of maybe 30-something members, and we go around the island every Friday on a different spot and we paint. And plein air, let me say plein air has helped me a lot with my artistic career, because it's very challenging. We paint from 9 to 12, and you're going out there and you have the whole world out there. And when I first started painting, I wanted to put everything on paper, but you have to find a subject to paint. You know, you have to find a subject to paint. So what we're looking at there, that was done in the D. Hamilton Jackson house. When we drove in, I saw that door, and I said, you know what, I could take that rustic door and I could give it some colors and make it look good, you know. And then and it just happened that that same painting was on the cover of the St. Croix this week for 2012. Can't remember if it was October or November, but I like doing houses, like you said. Oh, this one, wow. This house here is special to me. This is a house that I was raised, nurtured to be the person that I am. It was a 2-bedroom house, and we had uncles and aunts and cousins and everybody in that house. This was my grandmother's house, my grandparents in fact, and we have like almost 4 or 5 generations that were born in that house. Some of them were born in the hospital, but you know, we had a midwife in the village, and she would come to your home and deliver your kids. And you know, this house, it's no longer standing, but I had to paint that house. I have it on my wall. I will not give it to anybody. I will not sell it, because there's some great memories about this house. Yeah, this house. It's where I run around, man. This one here is a house in Christiansted. It's across from Singh's fast food restaurant. Across that, I think we renovated it not too long ago. But what I liked about it is that even though it was white, but you see that rustic feeling. You know what I mean? That rustic. Even when you look at the step, you see all that old age concrete, the roof, the red roof, and that's what drew my attention to it, you know. That one was done in acrylic. That one, it's an old house. I did some changes on there. There are no doors, just some boarded entrance, but I put some doors on it, make it look a little bit more modernized. I put that guy walking in there was nobody walking in there. So there are like I said before, you know, there are a lot of changes sometimes I do in my painting. That is hanging right now on in my mom's home. You know, she saw it and she could relate to it, so she has it. I did two versions of this home. One like a frontal view and one we have like a two-dimensional view. This is a house in Frederiksted, St. Croix. I don't remember if there was anybody who was living in there, but I love doing those type of houses. You see those boards, like you could see they're old boards, they're not just plywood, but they're single boards that you can see that they were built a long time ago, but they're still standing. These are the houses that are strong and keep going, you know. This one here again, if you look at mostly all of them, that you will see that roof, that red roof. I think that was one of the things in the old time days that is, instead of leaving the galvanized exposed, they would paint them red. And going back to that same board again, and if you look at the board, they're single boards, they're not just ply boards, but just single, just boards. Look at the step, you can see that a rustic concrete. Yeah, this one is one of my latest. Standing is still there, but you could see that rustic again, board. This is the second favorite subject to paint for me. Now this one here is back to the rustic feeling again. Look at the roof. That picture was sent to me from somebody from Dominica. That house is a house in Dominica. So we see that relation between the Caribbean, you know, Caribbean homes, you know. Because if you look at the houses that I did in St. Croix and those that I did, you know, like this one that is in Dominica, you see the similarity in some of them. Same roof, painted, some of them are just rusty, some of them are just painted red. Oh, this one is it's a galvanized plywood, and what drew my interest in there is if you look dead center, you'll see that guy standing up in the door, and you would look at those buildings there and you would think that nobody lived there. This one again is more like a street scene than anything else. People in St. Croix could relate to that because that's across from Treetop Grocery in Christiansted. I like doing street scenes, and that's the second version that I did with the previous house that I was talking about, the house in Frederiksted. It's just that this one is a much recent painting than the previous one. That one I put some, if you notice some of my new paintings that I'm putting a lot of chicken, because right now there are a lot of chickens running around. I find some people, there's an artist friend of mine who, when she paints, she always put an egret in there. So some people, different people put different stuff. So I just put some chicken in that one. I think that one reads really well. I showed that one time at the Artist Guild exhibition, and there were a lot of viewers and a lot of compliments about this one, with the shadows and the sunlight. You got a lot of light in that one, and the rustic feeling again with the board and the roof and everything.
And here again you have another Caribbean house. That one, I was driving and I passed that one. It was more on the easternmost part of St. Croix. And I looked and I saw this abandoned house. Don't know if anybody was living in there. A lot of people like those rustic homes. A lot of people like, you know, looking at these rustic homes. That one was also done plein air. That one is more on the eastern part of the island. And this is the second time I'm painting this home. I think the owner has the first one and this one I have at home. If you notice the trees, sometimes people paint those green trees, but you will see the blue and you see the brown and all this green. And when you're painting plein air, well, that's one thing you gotta act fast because the light is changing so drastically. You know, I mean, you have to make sure that, you know, I mean, what you see at 9 o'clock, by 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, the light is going to change. And if you change your painting, then you're going to be changing it all the time, you know, so you have to make sure that what you see on the first time, that is why sometimes it's also good to make a sketch before you start painting, so that you will know where your lights are, your mid values, and plus your darks are. This is one of my most, I would say, compliment paintings. When I first did that painting, I just started throwing colors. This is Strand Street in Frederiksted. This is the old fort all the way down to the end. If you go down Frederiksted and you look at some of the buildings, some of them don't have these colors, but I just felt like putting colors. This one here is it's coming out of town. This is across from King's Christian Hotel. This is an old painting of mine. Well, that's one of the paintings that when I first started applying color. Oh, this is one of my recent ones. This is when you're going into Christiansted. This is the St. John's Church. This is Frederiksted Town, Strand Street again. This is when you go into the Frederiksted Clinic. That picture was taken after it was renovated. You know that it was painted and renovated. And this is when you're going down to Boston Triangle. I wanted this one to be a little more loose, not be too realistic. We still see in there with that red roof, that rustic feeling again, Caribbean style, people walking, going on their everyday life. Oh, this is, everybody that lives in St. Croix could relate to that. This is when you're coming out of Christiansted, heading on Company Street. This is a steeple building in the distance. That was the name of that painting. The steeple building has a lot of history that I wouldn't go into right now, but I always wanted to do a painting of that. This is more like more of a sketch than a painting, I would say. This was done plein air again, time limitation. You go paint setup, you gotta do the drawing, preliminary drawing, and painting, applying paint, and finish the painting in 3 hours. Oh, this is Frederiksted Town again, Frederiksted St. Croix. This was also done plein air. This one took me more than 3 hours doing, because after everybody was gone, I was still sitting down by my easel and painting that. This is Hill Street in Frederiksted.
It's a warm feeling of Frederiksted when you look at that picture, if you know Frederiksted.
And that's just a handful of what I do. You know, that's just a handful of some of the subject matters that I paint. You know, it's been a long journey for me, something that I love doing. I have this passion for art. I get new ideas every single day. So we'll be seeing some new stuff from me. I'm working on some new items. We'll see.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing more of you. It's been a pleasure, and I'm so glad that you agreed to do this interview with Art and the artists.